You are about to enter the Shockwave Skull Sessions podcast on shockwaveskullsessions.com. And now your host, Bob Nalbandian.
Oh, there we go. All right, well, here we go. What is it, episode 1?
Episode 1.
The debut.
Episode 1 of, Shockwaves Aftershocks, I guess, or something like that we call it. But yeah, we got, of course, Matt Hartnett here from Aftershocks and Shockwave Skull Sessions. We got right across from me here, Mr. Bob Nalbandian, the man from the Skull Sessions.
What happened to the Metal Maven, huh?
Huh?
The Armenian
Metal Maven? That's when we do Shockwave Skull Sessions.
Oh, I can't be the
not
Armenian
Shockwaves
Metal
Aftershocks.
Maven on
No.
this?
Yeah, no.
Oh, okay.
You're not a Maven right now.
All right.
You know, just gotta. And of course, we got CHRIS Akin from Aftershocks and the Classic Metal Show on the line with us. What's up, Chris?
What's up?
Cool. So we're just gonna basically this is gonna be us just shooting the shit, talking about like recent, news in the music business. We could talk about interviews we've done, talk about bands that we've heard that we like, whatever it is. It's sort of open. But the first thing I guess, me and Chris talked about earlier, what we're going to talk about and bring up is, and I told you too, Bob, is about this Live Nation situation now. So it looks like, oh man, I had something here. Let me bring it up. So it looks like Live Nation's at it again. They're going to be, I don't have all this. I got some of the details here, but it looks like, their new, I guess, model, going back to once, shows can start being played again. It's going to be, it looks like once again, it's going to be taken out of the pockets of the artists. It's not going to really come down to the promoters taking the cuts.
Of course, they don't take any risks these days.
Sure. Yeah. And so, just number wise, it says, they're cutting artist fees by 20% in 2021. Obviously, then it's going to be 20% less guaranteed money up front. All the bands are going to be required to assist with marketing in terms of social media. They have to stream the concerts. They got to put them up all over the internet. And it's going to be 30% of the artist's merchandise sale. So now I don't know the numbers that were prior to that, but obviously mostly every artist that, commented on it, they were all, of course, not very happy. So I guess this is nothing new, obviously, with Live Nation. And obviously we were expecting something was going to be done like this because of it. And, of course, it's not going to be the promoters taking the hit. It's going to be the artists. But, the merchandise still right there, 30%, that's a fucking huge fucking chunk.
Yeah, usually the promoters do take
They do, but not that much, right?
Well, I remember when we did a show at Irvine Meadows, we had to take a 60-40 split as an opening band.
Okay.
Wow. Which was crazy.
That's nuts.
And that was opening for Dokken and Great White, so we were third on the bill. So I'm sure the other bands didn't have that, but it was probably, something set up where, the headliner gets some, or the management, or the middle act, the promoter gets a piece. But that was our split. I just remember we're like 60-40. Wow.
Damn.
But
yeah. No, it's and
that was back in 1986.
Sure. Yeah. Well, it's also one of those things too. And Bob, we were just talking about this, and I was telling you, Chris brought this up on one of the Aftershocks. It's really, obviously a lot of these clubs are shutting down, the smaller clubs, right? So who knows what's going to happen with independent music if they do. But I remember, Chris, you were saying something too on one of the podcasts we did about how you think though that it actually could benefit a lot of those middle sort of bands, not the big ones, the types that maybe sell out, some of the mid-size level clubs, because they're going to be able to play these shows probably sooner than later, where, Live Nation with the big shows in the stadiums and the arenas and stuff. There's going to be a lot of hoops they got to jump through to actually get those shows, going, where the first bands I think that are going to start coming along and start playing are going to be the small ones, the very independent ones. That's if, I guess that's more bars, right? Think about it.
If the clubs come back and they don't end up.
Well, so if clubs don't come back though, you figure it's going to be bars. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's going to be bars putting on shows, like even like that D Park side, the one up here. That's pretty much like a dive bar that these mega bands have played in, which is crazy. The Prongs and Monster Magnets, Raven we saw there. Yeah. Those are going to be the spots, I think, though. Huh?
I think those will be the fun spots.
Yeah, that's right.
You'll end up seeing bands that are probably too big to play those rooms, playing those rooms, just because they'll get more money in the guarantee.
Well, there you go. That's
I mean, that's what it'll be. But I'll tell you I've thought about this a bunch, and I actually had a very long email conversation with a friend of mine and Bob's and marketing guru, Michael Brandvold. Mm-hmm. And we were talking through this, and what's going to really happen, though, is you are going to see these middle-sized bands, the bands that are, let's just say a Rat or a Dokken or LA Guns or whatever. Those bands are going to have no choice at all. None. Mm-hmm. Because let's face it, they'll have two choices. They'll have sign this corrupt contract, which is what I think it is, or you cannot play any House of Blues, as an example, because Live Nation generally books House of Blues, I believe. Yeah. So let's take, like, last summer we had that what was it, or last winter it was the 80s hair tour with Bullet Boys and Enough's Enough and Great White, I think. It was the Sirius XM tour, whatever that was. And so you got those three bands, and it was booked at every House of Blues in the country. Mm-hmm. So what are they going to do? Say no? Are they going to say no? We're not going to obligate to 30% of our merch and 20% of our guarantee, and God forbid the bus breaks down. Now we got to pay for both this gig and the next gig as a penalty. You know, they're not going to have a choice. Their choice is going to be, you can play these 30 shows and take the risk, or you can, sit at home. Yeah. Or play this dive bar that we're talking about that seats 300 people. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're really going to get bent over hard by Live Nation, and that's the worst part. I read every little bit about this Live Nation deal. The big bands are never going to sign this. You're not going to tell me that Metallica or Pearl Jam or U2 is going to obligate to 30% of their revenue. You're not going to tell me that Metallica is going to give 1 ounce of shit worth of streaming away when they use it as a business of their own. Yeah, that's their business model. They're not giving that away to Live Nation.
The problem is with Live Nation, they become such a monopoly, just the same way Clear Channel with radio, that they really own the live market. Mm-hmm. And the way they were able to do this and get the bands, as you probably know, Chris, because I know you've talked about it on the Classic Metal Show, but a lot of other people don't know. They could pay the bands 100% of their ticket price. So when they're selling their tickets for $200, $150 or whatever, they could give them 100%. If it's a big band like Metallica, obviously, if it's a smaller band, they'll get a big chunk out. But where they make their money off of is this so-called $25 service fee. And that's what they're pocketing. It's not a service fee. It's basically money you're paying to Live Nation. And it's like, what the fuck am I? I'm going to the ticket booth. I remember, buying a ticket at House of Blues, and I'm like, what the fuck is this service fee for? And this was, years ago. Back then, I think it was like $16, $17. I'm like, I'm paying you $17 for you to hand me a ticket. What the fuck, Yeah. But that's where they're making their money. And the bands love Live Nation because
the guarantee.
They don't look at it like, and they might not even understand that, hey, they're kind of ripping off our fans. They're charging them this extra. All they're caring about and their management is caring about is we're getting paid more than anyone else is paying us to do these shows. We're getting paid a good, and they're treating the bands well. They give them, all the accommodations they need in their riders. And that's their trick of getting the bands on their side. And now they probably thought, hey, well, we got the bands on our side. Now let's take a cut from them. And a lot of the bands obviously are fighting back. But the question is, what other options are they going to have if other promoters are going to be able to come into these venues?
True.
They're not going to fight back. Let's be honest. The bands, we all know bands. It's a bunch of morons that don't know how to do business. 99% of the time. That's what.
Well, we're talking the bigger level bands have good management, and they usually.
And that's why I said at the beginning, Those bands are not going to be affected by this. Their management will have ideas. Their management will work out sub deals with AEG or whatever dumb
Golden Voice
that they find in every city that's willing to throw $3 million at Metallica to headline Stupid Fest in some cornfield somewhere. And Metallica will show up and do that if their option is to give away 30% or not. That's just the way that will work. They'll take anybody's money to go play wherever. The little bands are the ones. See, and this is wherein lies the problem. In my mind, it's a 3-part problem. It's not just Live Nation as much as I think they are an absolute scumbag cartel, and they are. But these bands have gotten so used to being overpaid that they've forgotten that they're overpaid.
Yeah,
you can't tell me that a Rat is worth $50,000 a show.
No, of course,
they're not in 2020. You can't tell me that a Dokken is worth $20,000 a show. You can't tell me that an LA Guns is worth $10,000 a show. It's just fake money, and it's fake money that has been allowed to be paid. And the bands that come out all the time, the same guys that cry about, well, we just try to keep going for the fans and the fans and the fans. They know full well that if they're charging $20,000 to show up in, buttfuck Egypt somewhere, that what that turns around to is a $75 to $100 ticket for their fans, and they don't care. And the fans are the third part of the problem, because the fans the fans who always have great intention. How many fans do we know that buy 400 copies of the same album because it has a bonus track or a different colored cover, or it comes with a T-shirt?
They're
enablers. About Jim Bartek?
Just like Jim Bartek. But they all think that they're supporting the band. Well, the bands know that, and that's why the bands have no problem raping them now. The bands are happy to let the venue rape them for $75, $80 a ticket because they're getting paid. The bands are happy to rape them for another $1,000 and give some of that to Live Nation for a meet and greet. I mean, the bands are equally culpable, and the fans are culpable too. At some point, the fans, and I say this as somebody that's 1,000% guilty in the last 6-7 months, because I overspent on Metallica tickets, and I overspent on Bob Seger tickets. They were within a week of each other. I spent, for 2 tickets each, I spent $1,000 for 2 tickets to 2 shows. That's me being a fool.
Well, no, I think a lot of it, though, too, is not so much you're a fool. It's also...
No, he's a fool.
Huh?
He's a
fool.
All
right, if you say, okay. If Bob says so, I guess I'll go with it.
I know where you're going with this, Matt, and I don't agree.
All right, where am I going with it? Go ahead.
You're going with that I want to support and I want to see those.
No. I think more what a lot of times what fans are doing, they also know this is coming to an end. There's no bands coming up that are going to take the place of these bands. True. So it's sort of like this is like the last hurrah.
Even how shitty they know it's going to be.
Yeah, even if the bands suck live, if they can't play anymore, the fact it's still that nostalgia thing. It's still that I need to go out. I need to have a good time. All right, I got to pay fucking $150 for this. Fucking.
It could be the last time I'll ever see this band again.
Yeah, just all that stuff. Exactly. And I think that's what it is. It's more fear more than anything. Like, shit, is this going to be it? Is the last time I've seen this band? Like I said, what are the next band? And I think that's a lot of it. Is that because it's not like they have in their minds other options unless they start getting into more independent and music, not stuff that's on the radio, or not all the stuff from the 80s, the nostalgic stuff. They're not willing. Fans are lazy. They're not willing to listen to new stuff, or they're just not willing to do that. I mean, maybe they will now. Who knows?
Again, too, there's you don't have the labels out there promoting the new stuff. You have to really dig. And most of the people our age, we're not going to dig through fucking
that's the other thing
YouTube
too,
or all these fucking Facebook or whatever new ways of finding music, CD Baby. And, I know some people that do that, but it's like, fuck, I'm not going to waste my time doing that stuff. I mean,
no, it's a and social media is a huge problem. It's a deficit as well as a positive. I mean, certainly, Matt and I talked today with Tony Reed from Moss Generator, and he has all of his music, which is a ton of music on Bandcamp. So you could go to mossgenerator.bandcamp and you can listen to probably 150 Moss Generator songs. That's fantastic, and that's great. And man, that's for a band like that really doesn't have a label or any kind of support or anything, that's fantastic that he can literally say a link, do one podcast and reach 1,000 people and that can hear what he does.
Yeah.
That's the positive. The negative, though, and believe it or not, I'm actually going to take Live Nation's side on this, is the bands have gotten universally lazy, way more than even they were in the past, because the bands, and we all know bands this way, and I'm not going to name them because I don't want to sell them out, but we all know 10 bands apiece that do not have a publicist, and they do not go when they're coming to Wisconsin. They don't look up the local radio show, podcast, YouTube, vlog, whatever it is, and reach out and say, hey, can you interview this guy for his date July 14th at blah, blah, blah center? They don't do that anymore. They show up, they play their gig, they go home. And, you know, I was talking about this on the CMS last weekend. Even me, I live 10 minutes from a casino, 10 minutes. It's my go-to casino to see shows at because the sound is good and I can safely make it drunk from their home. So, you know, it's a fair shot. And the thing that drives me nuts is the only time I know bands that I like are coming is when I drive by there and see their marquee. I never hear about it anywhere. And I'm in the business. You know, I'm in the business. I get every press release of every tour that there is. And I don't think that I don't look at every single list of tour dates to see if there's a Cleveland date.
Yeah, but I don't know if so much the bands are lazy. That was never their job back in the day. Back in the day, that was a record label's job. Well, the record label has the publicist. Back in the day, the record label had the publicity department, or they would hire out to an independent publicist, like a Chipster or whatever. But that was never back in the day the label's job. Now there is no label.
Well, they're just done adapting to the new way.
Yeah, well, that's the point. The bands haven't adapted.
Yeah.
Well, but it's well past time to give them a pass for that, Bob.
Yes, I agree.
No, I agree. But I'm saying that's really what it comes down to. And I don't think a lot of them know how to do that, or they, a lot of them. I mean, I know on your show, the Classic Metal Show, you've interviewed a lot of these independent bands. I don't know if they've gotten to you directly or if you contacted them, but there are a lot of them that do that.
Sure. And I personally will always give them the respect of, I almost never turn down anybody that asks specifically if unless their music is pure shit, I will not turn it down. And a lot of times, even if their music isn't good, I will still, if they investigated enough to know what we do, I will give them the respect of, hey, let's try and help this band go.
Well, that's good to hear that the Infirmity kids have a shot.
Oh, they do. They did. I gave them an hour and a half of radio tonight. But what I'm saying, though, Bob, you can't tell me every one of these damn bands that we're talking about, these heritage bands, has at least been signed to Frontiers. So they know for a fact, if nothing else, they know a couple of publicists' phone numbers because those publicists have worked with them. You're going to tell me that in 20 years since the heyday, 20 years of releasing on Spitfire Records, CMC, Frontiers Records, Steamhammer, SPV, Napalm, Rat Pack. I'm just naming a ton of these little labels that have signed all these bands that none of these guys have figured out, well, I still got to promote it in order to make money. They just don't care because they're making $20,000 a gig to show up on a Friday or a Saturday on a fly-in, and then go home with $40,000 in their pocket. They know they're not going to make any money selling a record anymore, so they don't even bother to take the time and take the steps that they need to step forward to the next level.
Well, that's exactly the point. Is they're not making the money off the CDs, so they feel, well, our only source of income is the live shows. And to be fair, even when you say these bands are making, $10,000 a show is nothing for, you might say, well, a band like LA Guns, they don't draw that much or whatever. But when you look at, if you're going to have most of the bands can't even afford a bus. Let's just say traveling in a van, you got to rent a truck for the gear. You got to pay a roadies. You got to,
Yeah.
That 10 grand goes out the window. So it's not like they are making a lot of money, even if they're making 20 grand a show. And most of these bands, they're not consistently touring. They're not playing 5 nights a week like they used to. They're doing fly-in shows.
Yeah, weekend shows and stuff. Yeah.
The money's just not. And I agree. A lot of the bands are lazy in a sense that they could do some of the bands that make more money. But a lot of them that are doing fly-in shows, that's their survival money. I mean, they're doing, 1 or 2 shows a month. Maybe 3 shows a month. A lot of them have to pay for the flights if the promoters don't pay for it, or they have it within their $50,000 pay. The band has to pay their own flights. They have to pay the hotels, whatever. So that money goes real quick. Especially when you don't have backup money like CD sales and whatnot.
Okay, you say this now. I'm going to counter it.
All right,
10,000 a show, 2 nights a week, Friday and a Saturday. That's a fly-in gig. Okay. 40 weeks a year. That's taking 3 months off a year. That's 800 grand a year. You're going to tell me that with 800 grand and you're only
that's gross though.
Of course that's gross. So
okay. Subtract the flights, subtract the hotel rooms, subtract the meals, subtract paying 4 or 5 roadies, subtract this truck rental, subtract this.
That's still about 100 grand a piece. If you have 4 band members in the band.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying it does. It depending on the band and depending on
it's not understanding their place anymore.
Yeah.
That's the biggest problem. You do an interview.
Well, that is true.
You do an interview with whatever band from the 80s and they still think it's rock royalty coming into the room.
Of course.
Yeah.
And it's not.
Brett Michaels? Of course. Who said that? Matt, don't talk negative about Brett Michaels like that.
I love Brett Michaels.
No, I know what you're saying. They're it's funny because I talk to a lot of guys that work on the end that work a lot of these venues and stuff, and they just laugh when they say they have these 80s bands that come in. They still have the same attitude like it's
1980. MTV days.
You're going to see that. But then again, a lot of these promoters, like say the guy in Lima, they treat them like they're gods still. And that's the other problem is you have these promoters that are going to lose their ass because they're total fanboys of these bands. And I don't feel sorry for these promoters. It's like, hey, you're paying these guys way more money than they deserve. This
is the trickle down part.
Yes.
I blame the fans. Ultimately I blame the fans. I don't blame promoter in Lima for losing $2 million booking such huge notables as Dee Snider and Vince Neil. That's his fault for being stupid. And fair enough, he was stupid. But I still blame the fans that rolled out to the cornfield in Lima at $150 a ticket to see this show. That's ridiculous.
Why, you paid $150 to see shows too.
Yeah, and I'm an idiot.
He just said that before. Yeah,
I said that at the beginning. I cannot.
Well, dude, it's what I don't do that. I don't get that personally. And I leave it to the individuals. I mean, a lot of
the
these
market.
Guys, it's like these people that are going to pay for these cruises, pay 10 grand to be on a cruise, like our buddy Wes on the Def Leppard cruise. Okay, that is their vacation. That's their getaway. They're freaking where I'm going to have a vacation. I'm going to see bands. I'm going to be with my wife. We're going to relive the 80s. So a lot of people, I know a lot of people that go on the cruises that absolutely love it. They tell me how much money they spend. Well, we spent, all our vacation money for the year and we had to, make cutbacks on this to do it. But man, it was worth it. It's like, all right, well, if it's worth it to you guys, it's worth it. To some people, to some people that work,
but again, 80 bands, Bob.
Say what?
That's 80 bands and it's a trip to, somewhere warm and nice. I mean, it's more than just going to see Bob Seger and Grand Funk Railroad at
the local arena. Or whatever,
I agree, but if some people that might be their favorite band. Some person, Faster Pussycat might be their favorite band, and to them it's worth paying. Again, I'm not. It's up to, you blame the. I agree. I can say, dude, these fans are stupid for paying this amount of money, but hey. if they want to do, they're well aware of it. You know, you're well aware of paying overpriced tickets, and maybe you think, well, the show's going to be good. And a lot of times, you know, you're disappointed after you pay, and then you go, fuck, man, I paid way too much money for this show, you know. But
and I'll be honest, that is indeed the lesson that I learned last winter. I went to the I waited until the last minute to get the Metallica tickets. Because I've seen Metallica 42 times. 40, and that's the real number, not like some made up I've seen them a lot number. I've legitimately seen them 42 performances. And I waited to the last minute because I was just like, I am not spending that much money on a band that I have seen play for $25. I'm just, when they were much, much better than they are now.
Sure.
And 2 weeks before, I just caved. 2 weeks before, I was like, I am going to be miserable if I'm sitting around my house watching Metallica videos knowing that they're 20 miles from here. And I went and bought the tickets and was completely disappointed. The show sucked. I sat up in the nosebleeds, and it was just not fun at all. And I was disappointed. By contrast, hold on, let me finish this. By contrast, I went a week later or whatever to see Bob Seger, and it was an amazing show, and it was fantastic. But I still had the same feeling that I had about seeing Metallica, which was I saw this guy before when he was even better than this amazing show, and it only cost me $25. So who's the dumbbell? Me.
I agree 100%. Because what you could have done, especially with Metallica or Bob Seger, you could just went on YouTube and seen the videos before, and you would know that the set. I mean, it's
hard to tell.
Before,
we watched
you never
it from
really
a YouTube
knew the
video.
set list. You didn't know what they were going to be like. You didn't know how they were going to sound. Now you go online, you see the night before how they play, so you know what you're getting.
But it's hard to to get the live experience from seeing.
No, I know, but what I'm
YouTube.
saying is, you know what songs that, like me. I mean, I've seen Metallica. You know, obviously, I'm fortunate enough I got in free for all these private shows they were doing. They did the private show in Oakland at the, what was that place, the big theater in Oakland?
Fox?
No, the Fox Theater. Yeah, the Fox. No, the Fox. The Warfields in San Francisco. The Fox Theater. They did the Rasputin, record store thing. I see them do all their old sets. I saw them at the Rose Bowl doing the thing. They're doing a lot of old sets. I knew that this show, the tour that you went on, I knew exactly what they were doing, and they were doing the B markets, so they're going to play the popular songs for they're not going to dig deep, and you know that in advance. You know what you're getting into, and so yeah, I agree. You are a fucking idiot, Chris. So, there you go. You should have known better. And
knows about it, man. I especially when, like you, I was fortunate enough to see, as I've said a million times, the best show I've ever seen in my life was Day in the Green, 91, there in Oakland Stadium with Metallica, first show of the Black Album tour. And that was fucking amazing. It was by far the best show I've ever seen in my life. 2 hours and 45 minutes of Metallica. It was unbelievable. But what I also got to see was the night before when they played at the Warfield, when they did a warm-up set, which was awesome. Because then they played like 3 hours just tinkering with stuff. Right. And it was fantastic as well. So, and for the total 2 shows, I spent $25.
Yeah.
And I know it's a different time, but
it's like chasing the dragon kind of thing, right? It's sort of like, especially with, like, say, with Metallica, it's like, all right, I want to get that experience again. They're probably at this age are not going to sound the same. Just like a lot of bands, just like you said, Seger, and most of the bands you see.
It depends on the show. I'll tell you, when Metallica did, another show was that 30th anniversary that they did at the Fillmore, a whole week straight, and they did everything. I mean, they were bringing everyone from John Bush to King Diamond to Rob Halford to guys at Sweet Savage, all these new wave of British heavy metal heroes up on stage with them. I believe Ozzy came on one of the nights, and I mean they were just going, and they sounded fucking killer. They had, they got Mustaine back up on stage. They even had Ron McGovney and Lloyd Grant get up on stage with them. I mean, they were doing and again, that was kind of a private show. I was fortunate to go to that. They sounded fucking great, no matter how old.
Well, so it was like you said, it's at the Warfield, so a smaller venue.
That was at
the Fillmore. I mean, Fillmore, yeah. Smaller venue, though. I mean, not a big arena.
But they played a great set. They did all their old songs. They did all their old demo tracks from Kill 'Em All. You know, the way they did it with Dave Mustaine. And I mean, you could see a lot of that online, and you could see they fucking kicked ass.
Well, let's kind of. I mean, we'll stay around in the concert thing here, but I want to. We've been on this for a while. I want to move on to something different. My question is, with the shows now, these live shows, who's going to be the first set of musicians or bands that are going to actually take that step to actually be like, you know what, all right, we're going to play. Like, for instance, the reason why I'm saying this is I don't know if you heard, any of you guys, there was this fest coming up, this Herd Immunity Fest. I believe right? And so what happened was, I don't know if you guys know the situation. I think it was like bands, a lot of those, 90s bands, Nonpoint, I think Static X, Dope, all those kind of bands. Mm-hmm. And I think it was the guy from Power Man 5000 the singer. Spider One or whatever, yeah, Rob Zombie's brother. He came out and made a post like how it's fucked up that they're doing this now. Mm-hmm. And then sure enough, what happened next? Nonpoint drops off. Yeah. Now it looks like it's not even going to be done. Because they're all pissed.
They changed the name of the festival.
They did change the name. Okay.
They're still doing it, but they changed the name of the festival.
Okay, so is Nonpoint now? Are they still off? Because they said they were dropping off.
So this is one of those drive-in.
No, this is an actual little festival they're doing. And it's in the Midwest there, right, Chris? I think it's up that far from you, right? Yeah.
I don't know where.
I think it's Wisconsin. That's where it's in.
But with the bands that were named, that didn't lead me to look further. But
obviously, I don't like any of those bands. But But so my thing is like, are these a lot of them are going to get shit? Because we know what's going on with the whole cancel culture. With bands too, with each other. With band members. Do you think that this is going to be a big deal? Do you think that this is something where it's like, who's going to be the first one to really take that step and make, who's going to be the first one to go on tour? You know what I mean? Are they going to get shit for doing it because no one feels like it's you're ready to do it yet? No one, it's like, I don't know. What do you guys think with that? I mean,
that's a good point. So, someone's going to have to take the risk.
Someone's got to take the risk.
Well, and not only is somebody going to have to. It's going to have to be a big band. It cannot be a small one. It's probably going to be that Motley, Def Leppard, Poison tour next summer, because it can't be a small band, because in order for little bands to do it, you're going to have to not only get the band on board, but you're going to have to get venues and cities and everything else. I mean, some of the cities have laws or state of emergency right now that you still can't have fucking gatherings.
Sure. Well, that's what I'm saying. Do you think it's going to be more of like the festivals thing is going to be the way to go? Because it's one thing if one or two bands go, but if you got 10 bands going, we're going to play this festival, what are you going to do? Are you going to go and try to cancel out 10 bands at once? I mean, I don't think you can do that.
Well, depends on
the festival.
You
cancel the promoter.
Yeah.
The city could pull the permit. I mean, there's a lot of ways it could go. I don't know. I mean, the problem with a big festival with 10 bands, what are you going to do? Give COVID tests to every band member?
And not to mention, it's a fucking risk for the promoters now.
Well, for promoters, yes.
And that's why I'm saying what Live Nation. Think how much Live Nation must have lost on this Motley Crue tour. If they, I assume it was a Live Nation show.
Yeah, it was.
And all these shows, there were a lot of these shows that were already sold out, and now done.
Yeah.
So,
but Live Nation, being the fucking criminals that they are, they just postponed it, rescheduled it for a year later, and didn't refund anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really? Are you serious? They won't refund people.
Well, they have said, according to the last thing that I read, so whenever you're listening to this, it may have changed a little bit, but they have said that if you can't make the rescheduled dates, they will refund you at a time to be determined later. Yeah. So they ain't giving you the money right now.
Well, and it's not just Live Nation, it's doing. I got these tickets sitting right over here, Bob. You see those on the bottom there. Eventbrite. There was Sepultura Sacred Reich tickets over here at the UC, a theater in Berkeley, and. No, I mean, I had tickets for a bunch of shows at that point. I've gotten refunded every one of them except for that. So I don't even think it's just going to be Live Nation. I think you've got some of these other promoters. Like I said, Eventbrite, I think, is one of them right now doing it. But obviously, Live Nation's the big name, and that's the big one with, the big money, obviously, spending $150 tickets. So
I've got Rose Tattoo tickets that I was supposed to see Rose Tattoo in May. And they rescheduled it to January 21st, but there was no refund offered. It was just you can use your tickets in January.
Well, yeah. So this one was even like, well, you can use them when we reschedule it. There was never even a date. It's just we're going to reschedule it. But it's like, well, I mean, so that's going to be another, the whole thing in itself. The other thing, I mean, I was talking about this earlier. I mean, I don't know about you, Chris. I'm burnt out. Not that I've even really watched a lot of these things at all. I maybe saw one or two of them. These online covers with like taking 3 band members from different bands, doing a cover of some song. They're all on their own screen. I think Charlie Benante's in a whole bunch of them. I'm fucking. It's just, it bugs the shit out of me, those things. I don't know about you guys.
I've never watched. I've seen them. I've seen people posting about them. I if anything, the most I've watched is maybe 30 seconds of something.
I don't.
It doesn't.
I think they're fucking stupid.
I don't know if other fans have interest for it, but me, it's. I don't want to see a band rehearsing.
No, and the thing is, a lot of it's the same guys doing it. I think I'm seeing like Charlie Benante. There's that guy Rod Diaz from Suicidal. There's I think Phil Demmel's done a bunch.
Charlie Benante's wife.
Yeah, exactly. Carla Harvey.
Oh,
it's just. And the thing is, it's not like they're doing a song. Like for instance, we did. We interviewed Sons of Silver and Peter. I mean, they did a song. The band actually did a song in a video, like a new song in a video through it. That's different. If your band's going to do a song or a video, and it's an original song, it wasn't even a cover. This is all like they're doing goofy covers of like pop songs, and
if the fans want to see it, I guess, and if they're going to.
But do they want to see it, or is this the band members just needing attention?
I don't know.
What is it?
I don't know how many hits they're getting, but if they're continuously doing these. They must be making some kind of money somehow, I would imagine.
They're just posting it on Facebook.
Yeah.
They're just
they're
releasing it out there. Here's the problem that I have with those things, and I hate them. I've watched way too many of them, and really the only good one I've seen, and this is not just because I'm talking to you, Bob, but
Armored Saint Isolation
was Isolation because Bush sounded unfucking real.
Yeah,
but
that was a good one.
But all the rest of them are horrible.
Yeah.
And the reason they're horrible is because the last thing in the world that we really want from our rock stars is to see them in their house.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to see Charlie Benante playing acoustic guitar with his wife on the couch. I don't want to see Tommy Shaw doing Fooling Yourself on his couch while he's chasing his dog around. These fucking things are terrible.
They're terrible.
And it's like, just stop. First of all, we all know that you're not playing together, that it's all edited together. That's a whole nother. They try to give this myth like they somehow 1, 2, 3, 4, and everybody started playing, and it just sounded mint perfect.
Right.
It didn't.
No.
Everybody recorded their own part, and they hired an engineer to put this bullshit together.
Mm-hmm.
And it's garbage. It's just, I hate it. I'm like, they're I'm going to take back my only one that I liked was Isolation, because to be fair, I have liked the Sammy Hagar ones.
Okay. I haven't seen those. I haven't heard those yet.
If he was to put those, he's done 8 or 9 of them so far.
Okay.
If he was to put those on a CD, I'd buy it because they have been good. And it just reminds me that I liked Van Hagar. So it's like, okay, fine. It's him and Michael Anthony. They sound like Van Hagar. Put it out. It's fine.
Who's playing guitar? Just Sammy?
No, Vic Johnson.
The
It's Vic Johnson, Jason Bonham, Michael Anthony, and Sammy.
Okay.
And they sound great, and it's obviously professionally recorded and professionally engineered, and and it comes off really good, and that's fine.
Yeah, I'm fine with
people want to hear it, and people want they're. I don't know if are these people charging for it? Anyone can watch.
No,
it.
they're not charging for it.
So that's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever if they want to do that to keep their name out there, keep it alive, and keep the music going. I don't. It's not something I would sit at home and watch, and I certainly wouldn't go to a drive-in concert.
Well, that was the next thing we were going to talk about here. Yeah,
I didn't mean to.
No. I'm glad you brought it up because we're going to get into that. I mean, these drive-through concerts, they're doing them in Germany, right? I think I saw Doro was doing one, and
Doro did one, and it was embarrassing.
Was it? Okay, yeah.
Dude, she's doing All We Are. And she jumps off the stage and she runs out into a bunch of cars.
And they're all honking their horns, right?
Were at the end, but first of all, none of them were in. Half the people were out of their cars.
Right.
So the whole myth of the people are social distancing by staying in their cars is blown out of the water, because the people were either out of their cars or they were sitting like with their ass on the windowsill of the car, and they're head banging and hornsing to Doro. Doro's running in between cars, high-fiving people and signing autographs or whatever while she's singing All We Are. And then at the end, you have a bunch of people honking their horns and flicking their lights on and off. It was an embarrassing tragedy.
Yeah.
Dude, it's funny because I talked to Schmier from Destruction like 2 days after it.
Right.
And he was like, Destruction will not be playing, and the typical hard German accent.
Yeah, right.
Destruction will not be doing that bullshit.
Yeah, can you imagine a thrash metal band doing that?
Oh,
Jesus Christ.
Come on.
I can't imagine Doro doing it.
Yeah, well, yeah,
you've got yourself in enough trouble with Doro. Now you're digging yourself even deeper. There.
I love Doro.
No,
but it's embarrassing. She's way too professional to downgrade her set.
I think they know that. They think they're making a political statement by doing this. We're
political?
so righteous.
How would
We're
this be a
doing the
political
right thing
statement,
by
though?
social distancing our crowd. We're giving entertainment to our fans, and they love it. They love it, Chris.
Garbage.
But no, I mean, Chris Boldendahl from Gravedigger said the same thing, man. He was just like, when the interview I did with him, he was just like, it's impossible to do when you're playing a metal band. It's
everything that this music stands for.
Yeah, it's so anti that. It's a antithesis of that. Yeah.
Hand everybody a refrigerator box so that we can get more people in, and we'll have everybody put a refrigerator box over their head, and then we'll put 500 people in refrigerator boxes in and let them mosh and watch the show. It's the dumbest shit ever. Just stop. And and again, I'm gonna go back to what we were saying about Live Nation. The fans are as dumb as
that's what it is. It's the fans. I know. I mean, I guess
Garth Brooks is doing it. He's not even showing up.
What?
He just recorded a show. Right. He went into some soundstage somewhere, recorded a concert.
It's like going to a drive-in movie.
Yeah, pretty much. That's fucking ridiculous.
Going to the drive-in.
But country almost could get away with it because their fans are so. People will say loyal. I say stupid, but they'll get away
with it. All right. Garth Brooks sold out 300 drive-ins across the United States.
There you go.
At $100 a car.
Wow, $100 fucking bucks.
Well, dude, speaking of which, and this brings it up. I got to add, as you know, Chris, I've been pretty silent about the screenings that really fucked us up. I know you were planning on coming out for the screening for the Bay Area Godfathers movie. We planned actually a few screenings were already pretty much set up for. March and April. The main one was the one we were going to do at the Roxy in San Francisco, and they were saying that they might be able to set something up next month, but now I don't see that happening. Or if they do, it'll have to be like 1/3 filled or whatever. So we were thinking of options, and we're thinking, well, it's a movie. Let me talk to a couple drive-in theaters, and there's one in San Mateo that have been doing. They've been doing tribute shows there.
Oh, okay.
They've been doing the same thing. And so I talked to them, and you know how much they wanted to rent the drive-in?
Probably a ridiculous amount. $20,000.
No, $10,000.
Yeah, Jesus.
But $10,000 to rent the theater. And I said, well, what do you charge? It's like $25 per car, and it's 400 cars. And I'm doing the math in my head. I said, well, that's basically comes out to $10,000. So you would have to get 400 cars just to break even.
Yeah.
I said, well, that's ridiculous. Come on. This is an independent movie. So obviously that was out of the question.
Are you sure, Bob? Because I'd love to take my $1,000 plane ticket, fly out, rent a car, and then sit in the car and watch the movie.
See what we could do. I mean, if we but I told, even if we were going to charge each person there 20, say there's 4 persons per car or whatever, charge each person individually. It's still not going to work.
It's not enough, though.
And the point is, for this movie, it's a screening. It's going to be most of the people that are featured in the movie. As you know, it's a 2-part movie. So we have over 50 artists and their friends or their bandmates. So, it's going to be 70% guest list anyway. It's like, fuck, I'm not going to lose, $8,000 on doing a fucking one screening.
For that kind of money, Bob, you could set up a website, do a screening yourself. that anybody wants to watch pays $10 to watch.
Well, that's actually it's funny you mentioned that, because that's what we're looking into.
Yeah, and then have a host that use Zoom or whatever platform, but Zoom would probably be easiest because it has the green room or the waiting room, and just have a Zoom thing where you pull in, you do an interview segment an hour before and an hour after, and do 10 minutes with, okay, coming onto the screen now, here it is. It's David Ellefson of Megadeth. David, you were in this movie. How great is that? You could do something like that, and you would make a lot more money than fucking renting a drive-in.
Well, that's something we're actually going to look into. It's just a matter of convincing, Warren, the executive producer. He's still real weary, because we were going to send out, private links to all the people in the movie. And he's, it's too soon to do that. It could get, there are leaks. I know, even with Vimeo, I spoke with the guys in Cleopatra. They were having problems with their movies getting linked, doing private Vimeo links and stuff, which is supposed to be the safe way to do it. But so we're going to figure out something. I know, we were talking about doing like what you said, or either do a Facebook Live or through Zoom or something like that. But we'll figure something out. But yeah, the drive-in theater is definitely out of the question now.
Yeah. So any updates with that, Bob, with the release date?
Now we're just waiting. I mean, the problem is now with the distributors, we've been dealing with some issues. So it looks like, the thing is, we had screenings planned for, not just a big one that we were going to do at the Roxy Theater in San Francisco. We had something possibly set up in Sacramento. We had one in LA. We had one in
Portland,
Orange
right?
County.
Portland, you had one too?
Yeah, Portland was already set up. So, we figured, okay, that will do us time to do a few screenings before the movie came out, the summer or whatever. Now it looks like it's going to be September release. Okay. So, and now if we can't do any screenings, it's like, we got 3 months. So we're going to figure out something. I've been real silent about it because I don't, know what we're going to do. I mean, a lot of the artists in the film are asking about it. When are they going to have a chance to see it? Whatnot, but we're gonna work something out, But
sure.
We just gotta do it right, and I understand, Warren's a bit paranoid about getting, links out, even as private as they would be, and we could, just put them up for a day, have people watch it, but we'll figure something out.
Yeah, I was telling Chris, he's gonna be very happy with his appearances in the movie. I was able to, obviously see the movie.
Matt's got a private screening.
I got a private screen, my own one here. But yeah, Chris Akin's in there quite a lot.
Yeah. Good answer. And
I'm the ghetto king of all media.
What the fuck is this? A Chris Akin show? We never did a podcast, or I never spoke about it. It was Bob Kulick's passing. Bob, I knew really well, and he was a really, really good dude. And, he was kind of, he had his personality. He was kind of this, this arrogant kind of guy, but in a very, very charming way. He was a really good dude. And, he was a behind the scenes guy. And, when he came out with the whole feud between him and his brother, I remember he contacted me before it really went public, and he told me about it, and he, wanted to interview me, and he was telling me the whole thing. It's like, dude, I love you. I'll interview you about your music. You want to talk about new stuff, but I don't want to be a part of this, this feud thing about you. It's just like, I know it probably would have got a ton of hits. I probably could have been the first person to do it, but I said, this brotherly fight, like the Schenker brothers. It's like, dude, come on. I mean, after what, 40, 50 years of performing together. I mean, come on, dude. So,
well, I've interviewed Bob and Bruce, and I see it on both sides. Bruce, it's weird because everybody looks at, well, Bob's the bad guy and Bruce is the good guy, because Bruce has perennially been, the good handshake guy, the personable guy in Kiss, he's always been that guy, but he can be a bit of a dick too. So,
Bob basically got him that gig.
Yeah, I know. And all I'm saying is that I think people perceived, before Bob's passing, they perceived it as, well, Bob's being a dick and Bruce is the good guy catching the brunt of it. And without knowing any details at all, I'm just saying I've seen Bruce be a dick to where I could see, it might not have only been Bob. It might have been the.
So they're both
brother.
dicks. They're both dicks.
I agree. I mean,
honestly, though, I've had better dealings with Bob than Bruce.
yeah. Bob's a good dude. I mean, I got to tell you a great story. You know, I had known Bob on and off, and I had hooked him up with a few different projects here and there in LA, and we've always had a real good relationship. We'd see each other at the Rainbow Art shows. He's always been a total gentleman. I remember I saw him at this was at the Key Club, or it might have actually been Billboard Live at the time, which was the old Gazzarri's for people that don't know in LA. And I was living in LA at the time, and this would have been probably early 2000s. And this was when AVN award show was pretty new. Before they went to Vegas, they were in LA. And we saw Dio at the Key Club, or Billboard Live, whatever it was called then. And Bob was at the show, and I was there with my buddy Bill. And we had passes for the AVN after. And I told my buddy who hooked us up with the pass, I said, well, we're going to go see Dio that night. He goes, well, dude, it's at the Bellagio Hotel, which is no longer. It was right across from the Whiskey A Go Go. It's a hotel there on Sunset Boulevard. He goes, dude, just swing by right after. So we said, okay, we'll do that. So we run into Bob after the show. We're talking, we're bullshitting. And they gave me 4 passes for the AVN Awards, and like all access passes, you know, backstage, whatever. And because I, you know, as you know, Chris, I know a few people in the porn business too. Rock and roll and porn go even way back then. So anyway, to make a long story short, I go, hey Bob, you know, I got an extra pass. Would you want to? We're going to do this award show, AVN award show. It's like some big porno awards across the street. You go, you want to go with us? Sure, why not? So we take Bob there, and I remember we go there right as it was ending, and you know, we go in. They give us the passes. We're in the backstage, big green room, porn chicks all over. Everyone's drunk as fuck. And when we saw the ending of the awards, you know, and as you know, they have scenes for, you know, best blowjob and this and that. And all these girls have these awards, and then they're backstage showing off the awards. And Bob was like, dude, this is surreal. They actually have awards in this for like best blowjob. And they actually make these awards, and he was like freaking out. And he's going, "This is fucking great." And I'm like laughing, and he was just there like looking, staring around, going, "Dude, thanks so much for inviting me. This is fucking really cool." And I just remember that was such a cool moment with, you know, Bob. He lived in that rock and roll world, and I'm sure he had his share of groupies and all this, but this was a whole other world that he didn't know existed. He goes, dude, I had no idea they had like awards for this kind of stuff. He goes, this is fucking hilarious, but it's fucking great, you know? And it was just real cool. And I think we ended up going to an after party at, I don't know if it was Buck Adams' house or someplace up in the hills. And we went to this crazy after party where Ron Jeremy's fucking some chick in the bathroom.
Oh, you said Ron Jeremy?
Speaking of Ron Jeremy, he's in some shit right now. You probably heard about.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He's ever there was
no surprise. No surprise at all there. But anyway, I just, that moment with Bob Kulick, and after the award show and after the party, he was like, dude, thanks, man. This was fucking great. I never realized, you know, so it was kind of a cool experience. But anyway, Bob was a good dude. So there's my tribute to Mr. Kulick.
There you go. Bob was probably just surprised when you won that best blowjob award.
I knew that was coming. I knew I set that up for you. Good answer. I'll go with that, Chris.
Awesome.
I still have the award sitting up on my mantle too, by the way.
Sure you do.
Cool. All right.
I'm a talented motherfucker.
I guess. I'll never know.
Yeah, and I don't ever want to know.
I don't know.
All right. Always a fun show having you on, Mr. Akin.
Thank you for listening to the Shockwave Skull Sessions podcast. Subscribe and listen to all episodes by going to our pages on iTunes, Spreaker, YouTube, Spotify, and more. You can listen to all other episodes and access up-to-date information and news on the Shockwave Skull Sessions podcast by going to our website at www.shockwaveskullsessions.com. Email all comments, questions, and suggestions to shockwaveskullsessions@gmail.com.